My name's Claire. I'm 38, and right now, I'm sitting on the edge of this too familiar couch, trying not to let the quiet swallow me whole. There's something I need to confess, something I've been carrying around like a secret weight, and it's starting to crush the air out of my lungs. It's about my marriage. About the man I once loved more than anything, and how everything between us unraveled until all that was left was silence and regret. He told our daughter he regrets not leaving me sooner. Those words didn't come from me. They came from him. And now? She won't even reply to my texts. I remember when things felt electric between us. When his touch sent a thrill through my skin, and his kisses made my heart race. We used to fall asleep tangled up, his fingers tracing lazy patterns along my arms. I thought those moments meant forever. Safe, passionate, alive. But it wasn't forever. Not really. Slowly, the warmth faded. That kiss, once hungry and full of promise, started feeling like a routine, like a habit he was going through without me. Our cuddles turned stiff, like two strangers pretending they still belonged in the same bed. His hugs stopped feeling like embraces and started feeling like obligations, like a demand to stay even when I wanted to run. I still remember the exact moment I knew something had changed. It was a Thursday evening. We were on the couch, the same one I'm sitting on now. I reached for his hand like I always did, looking for that spark, that connection. But he pulled away without a word. Not angry, not cold, just distant. I looked into his eyes, searching, begging for something, anything to bring us back. But all I found was emptiness. That's when the silence between us became deafening, and I realized I was already losing him. And maybe worse, I was losing myself. I think what hurt the most was how invisible I started feeling, even when he was right there. Michael's a firefighter, steady, reliable, always the first to jump into action when someone else's life is on the line. But somehow, when it came to me, his way of showing love was all about action too. More hugs, more touches, more silent gestures like grabbing my hand or wrapping his arm around my waist. But I needed something different. I needed him to see me, to listen without fixing or distracting. I craved conversations where I could be vulnerable without feeling like I was burdening him. I needed emotional space before any physical closeness could mean anything. Instead, he kept trying. On one of those nights when the silence was thick enough to choke on, Michael reached for me, his touch urgent, like he was trying to erase the distance with skin. He pulled me close, kissed my neck, pressed his hand to my back. But the moment fell off. I froze, pulling away just enough so he noticed, but not enough to push him away completely. "Claire, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice low but tense. I don't know," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "It's like you're here, but not really here." He frowned. "I'm trying, Claire. I'm trying to be close to you. But sometimes," I said, "I don't want to be touched if you're not willing to be present. I need more than that." He blinked, like I'd spoken in a language he couldn't translate. Then he said, "I'm sorry, I don't get it." It was one of those moments where the gap between us felt impossibly wide. I wanted to explain, to make him understand that for me, love was more than hands and lips. It was sharing the messy, raw parts of ourselves. But I swallowed it instead because I wasn't sure he wanted to hear it. Or maybe I wasn't ready to say it loud enough. And so the night stretched on, the unspoken words piling up between us, like walls neither of us knew how to climb over. One evening, Michael came home later than usual, tired but smiling, that familiar firefighter grin, the one I used to melt for. He slipped off his jacket and walked over to me in the kitchen, reaching out to brush a stray hair behind my ear. His hand was warm, his eyes soft. "Hey," he said. "Missed you today." I wanted to smile back, to lean into him like I used to. But instead, I felt a strange tightening in my chest. When his fingers lingered a moment too long, tracing the line of my jaw, I flinched almost imperceptibly. He noticed. "Claire." His voice was gentle but cautious. "I'm fine," I said quickly, stepping back a little. "Just tired." He shrugged off the rejection like it was nothing and, with that same tired grin, reached down and gave my hip a quick, playful slap. Come on, don't shut me out. That slap should have felt familiar, like an inside joke between us, but all I felt was cold, a distancing echo in my skin. When he pulled me toward him for a kiss, I closed my eyes, trying to summon anything, but it was like my lips were moving on autopilot. The warmth was gone. The connection, the spark, the hunger, they had all slipped away, leaving me numb. I wanted to want it. God, I wanted to want him. When he finally pulled away, he looked at me with a mix of hope and confusion. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I couldn't say it aloud. Inside my head, the words echoed over and over, a bitter chant. Why does everything have to turn into sex? A few nights later, we sat across from each other at the dinner table, the kind of meal Michael had insisted on cooking: steak, mashed potatoes, the works. Candles flickered between us, casting soft shadows, trying to stitch together something romantic in the middle of the mess we'd become. He reached across the table, took my hand in his, and said quietly, "Claire, I don't want us to keep drifting apart like this. I love you." "I'm trying." I looked down at his hand, warm and steady, and suddenly everything inside me cracked open. The hurt, the loneliness, the endless nights pretending it was okay, it all spilled out in a sob I couldn't hold back. "I don't know if you love me anymore," I said, voice trembling. "You told our daughter you regret not leaving me sooner. How am I supposed to believe you want to stay now?" His face went pale, confusion mixing with hurt, and then anger, sharp and sudden. "That's not how it was. You're twisting things." "No, Michael," I whispered, tears slipping down my cheeks. "That's exactly how it was. You said it. And now she won't even reply to my texts." He pulled his hand back like it burned him. "Why are you doing this? Making this about me?" "About her." The silence that followed was colder than any words. I wanted to scream, to tell him how lost I felt, but instead I pushed my chair back and left the room. Later, alone, I sat on the floor, heart racing and shame curling like smoke in my chest. I hated myself for breaking down like that, hated that I'd hurt him, hated that I'd let the past poison what little was left of us. But mostly, I hated how right I'd felt in that moment. How everything we'd built had been quietly crumbling while I was pretending it wasn't. Was I angry? Was I hurt? Or was I just so damn tired of feeling invisible in my own life? I didn't have the answer. Only the ache. And the unbearable silence afterward. The days after that night stretched out like a long, gray winter. Michael and I drifted further apart, each retreating into our own quiet corners of the house. The air between us was heavy with things left unsaid. I caught glimpses of him sometimes, his shoulders slumped in exhaustion, the way his eyes looked distant, like he was carrying a weight I couldn't see. One evening, I found him sitting on the porch steps, staring at nothing, hands trembling slightly from a long shift. I wanted to reach out, to say something that might break the wall, but the words caught in my throat. "He's hurting too," I reminded myself. "This isn't just my pain to bear." Still, the nights were the hardest. When the bed grew cold between us, I missed the warmth of him, the simple comfort of knowing he was there. But every time he reached for me, I pulled away. I was scared, confused, trapped in the space between longing and fear. Guilt gnawed at me. I wondered if I was the one pushing him away, if I was the cause of this growing distance. And yet, the part of me that still loved him deeply, fiercely, felt so fragile it might shatter if I tried to bridge the gap. One night, I sat alone in the dark, the silence pressing in. I asked myself, do I want to fight for us? Or am I ready to let go? The answer wasn't clear, but I knew this. If I stayed, it would mean finding a way back, not just to Michael, but to myself. And if I walked away, it would mean admitting that some love, no matter how hard we try, just isn't enough anymore. Weeks later, after a silence that felt endless, Michael and I found ourselves sitting across from each other in the living room, the weight of everything between us finally too heavy to ignore. There were no grand declarations, just quiet, honest words spilling out, raw and trembling. "I don't want to lose you," he said softly, eyes searching mine like he was trying to memorize every line on my face. "I don't want to lose you either," I whispered, feeling the old ache in my chest. "But we need to be honest about what we need. I can't keep pretending that a touch is enough when I'm starving for connection." He nodded slowly, his hand reaching out, hesitant, until it found mine. No sudden moves, no pressure, just the simple warmth of skin against skin. That night, when I woke up, he wasn't beside me. I found him sleeping on the couch, curled up with his firefighter jacket draped over him like a shield. Instead of anger or frustration, a quiet tenderness washed over me. I wrapped my arms around him, careful not to wake him, and in that silent embrace, something fragile began to heal. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't all fixed. But for the first time in a long time, there was a thread of hope, a reminder that love, even when battered, can still breathe. And maybe, just maybe, so can we. If you asked me where we stand now, I'd tell you it's complicated. We're not the same couple we were years ago, not the easy laughter, the effortless closeness. We're learning, slowly, painfully, how to be honest without breaking each other. I still carry the scars, the things left unsaid, the moments when love felt more like regret. But I've also learned that love isn't just about passion or perfect endings. Sometimes it's about choosing to show up, even when it hurts. I don't know what the future holds for us. Maybe we'll find our way back completely, or maybe this is as far as we go. But what I do know is this: I'm still here. I'm still willing to try. And maybe that's enough for now. 6.